Welcome to the Weather Academy. Good to be back with you. Of course, we were on last spring, and like most students do whenever we have summertime, we took a summer break here. But now we're back at it, and we're going to do this Weather Academy. We're going to condense it a little bit. We're only going to do it once a week, and it'll be running every Wednesday at 10 a.m. So sometimes it'll be taped, sometimes it will be live. And in all honesty, this was taped on Tuesday, so some of the stuff that we have on here may be a little bit dated. And the reason it might be is because this time, today, we're talking hurricanes because we had a most unusual event here, something that I can't remember in my lifetime. And just talking to Tom and Craig, and from what I'm hearing from sound bites along the Gulf Coast, most people can't remember, and that is that we have two tropical systems affecting the United States, or about to affect the United States at the same time. Can you go full screen on that, Cindy? Okay, this is, now again, this is going to be about a day old because this is from yesterday, but we had tropical, what's now Cyclone Marco, and Marco is this one right here. What's left of it. This was a tropical storm, and what was at the time Hurricane Laura, and probably still a hurricane on this Wednesday, that's most likely churning much closer to the Gulf Coast. Never in my experience do I remember two systems hitting back to back like that. That is a first as far as I can recall when it comes to tropical systems. Now, notice the location of these tropical systems. Both are here in the Gulf Coast. A lot of times you hear, okay, I can actually zoom this out a bit. Most tropical systems that hit the United States occur from, and I don't believe, oh, I can turn this. Oh, awesome. Most of the tropical systems actually come from Africa. And you can see here, tropical systems, and these systems move across the Atlantic Ocean. And that's a wide expanse. Now, in this area, the equator is down here. This is roughly what we call the Tropic of Cancer. And that's a latitudinal line there. And these waves move all the way across because the winds in the tropics blow from east to west as opposed to west to east. So they move across, and what we look for, or what experts look for when tropical systems become hurricanes is A, they look for very warm water, which is almost always the case in the Atlantic between the equator and the Tropic of Cancer. Water temperatures frequently near 90 degrees. And what we also look for is what we call lack of wind shear. Wind shear is the change of wind direction with height. And if you want to come back to me here, Cindy, usually if you have winds at different heights, all going in the same direction. That means very little wind shear, so there's not much change. And what that does, that allows the hurricane to develop vertically and get that big, deep stack, that eye that we usually see. If the wind's directions change, like if we have easterly winds here and southerly winds, say at about 10, 20,000 feet up, now you got this deal going here. Can I do that? Huh? Okay, not bad. What happens is the southerly winds shear it, and the hurricane becomes more tilted. Now, when it comes to severe weather, that's what we like. But hurricanes, that's not good, because for a hurricane to really develop, think of the eye of the hurricane as a smokestack. So you have all this moisture coming up from the Atlantic Ocean, coming up and releasing all the heat. That's what happens when that moisture goes up into the hurricane. Now, if you have a nice vertical eye, think of it as a smokestack. The exhaust, once all that heat is exhausted, you have to get rid of the old air so that more moisture can come in. So if your smokestack is nice and straight, like the good, well-formed eye of a hurricane, then that allows for a nice, efficient escape, basically an efficient weather system. It's like a car, okay? If you plug up the top of the hurricane, nothing can escape. If you plug up the car, let's say this was an exhaust pipe, it's not going to run because all the gases from the motor can't escape so that new combustion can take place. So if your stack is kind of tilted, yes, it does escape, but it's much less efficient, and oftentimes the hurricanes can pretty much die out or not develop the way they should. So what's happening with Marco, it didn't have a very good eye, not to mention in the Gulf of Mexico here, a lot of the water isn't quite as warm, so you don't have quite the hit of warm air and the hit of energy. Now Laura is much better developed. It has a better smokestack, and it has a little better dynamics. So when it makes landfall, which is probably going to be late tonight based on what I recall, it's going to hit possibly the Texas coast or the Louisiana coast as what we call a Cat 3. And we'll talk about categories in just a moment. A very active hurricane season. Hurricane season typically begins on June 1st, and it goes to normally Thanksgiving, but we've already had a start here. And let's pop it up full screen here. These are the names of the hurricanes, and I'm sure you've watched Tom Atkins or Craig show these perhaps on our show. So we are already in the letter M for Marco, okay? So M is the 13th letter of the alphabet. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So 13. It's already, and we're not even in September yet, okay? That shows you just how active this season has been when it comes to the hurricane names. Now, when it comes to when hurricanes are most prevalent, this is a graph. And the higher the bar, the better the chances that a tropical system or a hurricane develops. And you know this September 10th, if you had to pick a date where you're most likely going to see either a hurricane or a tropical storm, September 10th is your day. September is still considered the peak month, but August, as you can see, especially late in August, things start. So we're starting to get into that peak period of hurricane development. Typically, it tails off on the first day of October. Then we get kind of a secondary maximum just before Halloween, and then it tapers off quickly after that. So that's the typical hurricane season. Now, what are the hurricane categories? First of all, tropical storms. Tropical systems are given names once their sustained winds get to 40 miles an hour. That's when it becomes a tropical storm. And between 40 and 75 or 74 miles an hour, we name it a tropical storm. Once the wind speed gets above 74, 75, that's when it becomes a hurricane, like Laura. And Category 1 hurricanes go up to 95 miles an hour. And there you can see, we call it the Saffir-Simpson scale. Those are two people who named the wind scale. On a similar vein of the enhanced Fujita scale with tornadoes. And there you can see anywhere from devastating to dangerous winds and up to catastrophic damage once you get to a Cat 4 or a Cat 5 hurricane. Now, as we said, Hurricane Laura may hit the Gulf Coast as a Category 3, where it could hit winds of up to 110 to 115 miles an hour. So that would make it a, quote, weak Category 3. It may go in as a strong Category 2. That's enough. When you have these are sustained winds of 100 to 110 miles an hour. Those can cause major damage to homes. And that doesn't include wind gusts. So this could be a pretty significant hurricane. And with the rainfall that could hit 5 to 10 inches on top of the rain that fell from Marco, this could be a very rough go. So when it comes to hurricanes, what were the strongest, at least in the Atlantic Basin? Hurricane Patricia back in 2015. 210-mile-an-hour winds and very low pressure there. Wilma back in '05 was number 2. Hurricane Gilbert was 1988. For people my age, the Labor Day storm hurricane, that was what we call the industry standard. That was a standard of devastating hurricanes that developed even before even before the storms were even named. It wasn't until, again, Gilbert in 1988 that we had a stronger hurricane. And back in '05, Hurricane Rita. So we had 2, Rita and Wilma. Hurricane strength is not based on wind speed, but pressure. That's why even though Rita had slightly greater wind speeds, it was technically not as strong as Wilma at 175 miles an hour because Wilma had a lower barometric pressure. So those are, again, 5 of the strongest hurricanes. If you want to track the hurricanes and want to know, you can go to our website, yourerie.com, and look for, once you click on weather, look for tracking the tropics. It has actually started there, so that it's not starting next week. It's there right now. In fact, you can track Hurricane Laura, and it's a video. That can go anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes long. It's updated Tuesdays at 8 p.m. and Wednesdays at 2 p.m., so later this afternoon. And you can find it at yourerie.com, only on yourerie.com, tracking the tropics, and that's where you can track the tropical storms. Right now, it's been an active season, and the experts are saying that this will continue to be an active season as well. So let's come back here, Cindy, for some final words here. So hurricanes. Now, the good thing is with hurricanes is we've been very dry here, and nobody wants to see devastation in the Gulf Coast, but unfortunately they're going to see some, and they'll see some flooding. But one of the nice things, hurricanes can be great drought busters. It won't help the fires out west, but it may help our dry season here because the remnants of Hurricane Laura are expected to come up into the Ohio Valley, and it'll be drawn in by a cold front. So probably Friday, and more likely Friday night into Saturday, we may see some rains from this tropical system. And believe me, even though it will be on land for about 3 days, the amount of moisture in these hurricanes is tremendous. And we could get a decent dousing of rainfall just when we need to help break this dry cycle. So hurricanes can be good to us, as well as, of course, being devastating as well. So there it is. That is your Weather Academy for today. Hope you enjoyed it. And you can always, we always post these online, so if you can never see these when we first run them on Wednesdays at 10 a.m., they'll always be there. And you can always check out some past Weather Academies. But until then, either Craig or Tom will be on next Wednesday with another edition of Weather Academy. Thanks for joining me. Have yourselves a great day.